Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got kind of a weird discussion topic to share with you guys. The topic of discussion today is going to be, what is the proper use of a folding knife? Now that might seem obvious, right? There's going to be a whole bunch of people right away wanting to type up, my idea of proper use for a folding knife consists of, and that's fine, you can do that. That's what the comment section's for, but just understand, I'm not actually asking. What I want to do is dive into the infinite complexities that surround this question because of what the knife enthusiast slash collector slash user community has done to the knife industry. It's actually thrown it a million different directions. There's infinite perspectives and infinite variables when it comes to an inconceivable number of circumstances that a knife might or might not be used in, right? So what's the purpose of this, right? There are a lot of new people all the time coming into this knife world. Some of them are older people, some of them are younger people, right? But there are new people, and they're being subject to a bajillion different opinions all the time. Not just from different YouTube channels like mine, but different types of comments and conversations that they might have down in the comment section or on Instagram or on, countless different types of forums or collector groups on social media. So, if you clicked on this video thinking that Metal Complex is going to give us an example of proper use of a folding knife, let me save you some time at the 1 minute and 40 second mark, or wherever we are on this video. No, that's not what I'm going to do. Because truthfully, while it's obvious that knives, it's obvious. So if you feel like you need to type this up, like I don't know, don't do it. It's obvious that folding knives are, generally speaking, bladed objects that are meant to cut things, right? That's the one thing that we can all agree on. That's what they are, and generally speaking, what they're meant to be used for. But the details, what are they really meant? Like, if somebody who buys a knife, what are they supposed to do with it? Is there a consistent or a foundational law about what you have to do with that knife? What you have to enjoy about that knife or not enjoy about it? No, actually, no, there isn't. And I'm going to explain. I'm going to give my reasoning why, so that I can help new people and steer them away from gatekeepers and people who are, basically cannon blasting their ego in a very toxic way, which is something that we deal with here in the knife community periodically, and it's a part of every community, right? But I'm gonna take an opportunity to use what is a louder voice because of the YouTube channel and help steer people away from people like that and help them identify when they are when they're having a conversation with somebody who's not going to give them helpful information. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, there's of course a link right down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We've got a whole bunch of knives laid out. Usually I have them lined up in a way that's like really visually appealing. Nah, I just got them all laid out, and I got the blades out so that people aren't going, you did talk the whole time and you never got the knives out. Bleh. Well, they're already out. That was a weird... Usually I imitate my audience with the Mickey Mouse voice. If you're going to talk about knives, you really should get the knives out. Okay, well, they're already out, so there you go. I've got knives out here that are of the $5 variety. I've got knives that are, a part of the $30, $40, $50 quality budget knife variety. I've got some production knives, some Spydercos, some Benchmade, some ZTs, some Microtechs, right? Knives that cost $100, $200, $300. I've got ultra high-end production knives, Hinder knives, some Strider and Medfords and Demcos, $400, $500, $600. And then I've got just, as an example, a knife that is full custom, handmade, using exotic materials that is worth well over $2,000. These are all just basically going to be used as examples. If you're new to the knife world, I've got countless discussion topics that sort of explains different perspectives, why certain knives cost more than others, why they appeal to certain audiences and other audiences, right? I've done videos that explain my thought on that. This video is not about justification for more or less expensive knives. That is an infinitely endless argument that will forever burn in the knife community. No tool should ever cost more than X amount. I would never spend more than $100 on a knife. I would never spend more than $200 on a knife. I would never spend more than $45 on a knife. I would spend up to $500, but no more than that, because look, nobody, not a single person, can give you absolute, like, factual information on what the benefits are, or are not when it comes to more or less expensive knives. All there is infinite perspective. Infinite opinion, right? No one can tell you, I'm speaking to new people here, no one can tell you that you are overspending or underspending on an object that you're going to use or not use, right? There's some information out there that can help you make the right purchase for you, right? But again, your reasoning, your perspective, right? All the variables surrounding what you will or won't do with the knife, why you're buying it, they're your own, they're unique, right? So how much you spend or how little you spend is up to you, but you can use, information from other people to help you kind of determine. But is there a factual, foundational line that everyone in the knife community follows? No. This is not about price. That's not what we're going to talk about here. What are you supposed to use your knife for, right? You're lusting after a Microtech SOCOM Elite that you saw on somebody's Instagram account. This guy seems to have a lot of knives. Guy or gal seems to have a lot of knives, right, that are in this kind of $200 to $300 zone, or maybe not any specific price point, just a lot of really nice knives, right? Maybe that person has a YouTube channel, or maybe they talk enough or, post enough on social media that they give off the impression that they know what they're talking about. They talk about tolerances, they talk about fit and finish, materials, right? Talk about lockup, ergonomics. Maybe they've got some examples of use, right? For whatever reason, you're lusting after that thing, right? Hypothetically, for what it seems to be capable of, right? That's that is a circumstance that is commonly shared by a lot of people who are new to the knife world. Wait a minute. Knives get more expensive? Why? Oh, because there's different... okay, so there's different types of steel. So that must be why. So you pay more money for better steel. Well, no, now wait a second. That doesn't necessarily seem to be... Because now I'm seeing M390 knives for like $100, but I'm also seeing M390 knives for like $500. So is it the material... Oh, maybe those knives are overpriced. Oh yeah, I talked with Bill the other day in the comment section, and he says that, Hinderer knives are overpriced for what you're getting, right? Because of the materials. Well, wait, now this other guy named Sam is telling me that it actually has more to do with how it's made, or where it's made, how many processes go into it. Okay, so, but I like that. I like how this Hinderer knife looks. I'm drawn to it, and I do find a lot of information and a lot of examples of people out there using their knives, and it seems to be really capable. Right? So, but who's the main core of the knife community? Is it Bill, right? Am I going to make the Bills of the knife community cringe if I pick this knife up and don't use it, the way that it was intended, right? Or if I don't buy something that was in, Bill's idea of an appropriately priced tool? It seems silly. It seems ridiculous. Believe me, I understand. For people rolling their eyes and going, no, that's not. Yeah, believe me. If you've ever, I spent the start of my, last 10 years, my 10-year journey through the 10-year journey through the knife world, started out on blade forums. And I remember reading different threads, different knives, or people who use them for different things, were sharpening and getting this out of this steel or this out of that, or having this opinion on this company for using this or doing that, right? And I formulated this opinion that blade forums and the blade forums community, which, by the way, my experience on blade forums is largely positive. This isn't meant to bring blade forums down, right? But I came to the conclusion that community they were like the decision makers of the knife world, right? They created the law of what is value, what a knife should be used for, right? All of that stuff. They created. I'm like, okay, this must be like the Grand Council, right? Talking with different people there, and creating threads, getting responses from people. What I slowly found out over the years is that, yeah, there are, these hardcore users that feel like any, attraction to the object that has a foundation of, knife enthusiast is unnecessary, and you should only appreciate the object for what it is capable of doing, right? And that anything else is considered cringy, or that's the part of the community that's beneath the main core, right? Then you had the enthusiasts who, insisted that, all of the fine details of, like the purist enthusiast, all the fine details of, knives, that's what you should consider when you're buying. That's what your money's going into. And the fact that it is a capable, knife under, usage circumstances is a given. And that anybody else who doesn't appreciate those elements is, a person of lesser intelligence or a person of lesser taste, right? Well, they don't have refined taste, so they couldn't possibly comprehend what they're supposed to be appreciating. That's just as toxic. Both ends of that are toxic. It took me a while to realize that both, of those extremes were total BS. Total BS, right? You got the brand loyalty collectors. Anybody who collects anything outside of these specific brands is not intelligent or hasn't been, right? They're all the same type of person. That they're all gatekeepers. That's what that is. It's gatekeeping. Suggesting that a certain brand or type of knife or a certain anything is locked behind golden bars, guarded by golden gods, right? That you have to that you have to be worthy of the object to experience it, and then you have to experience it a certain way is absolute nonsense. Now, the core message of this video is buy what you want and enjoy it for reasons that you want to enjoy it, right? If you buy something that is technically capable of excess levels of abuse, do you have to abuse it in that way to truly appreciate it? Nobody will come out and say that, but the bills in the comment sections, right? When I say a bill, it's somebody who's like the sole purpose of whatever it is that they're saying, right? Well, their intentions might seem helpful at first. The sole purpose of them even speaking up is simply to bolster their own ego through dialogue, right? Well, in my field, knives are this. Knives are used as this. Anything else is just nonsense. You see, I'm a hardened man. I walk the beaten path and I beat it further in. My footsteps are heavy, weighed down with experience and grit. So now that I've set the proper scene, you know that the information I'm about to give you is, it's basking in the golden light of wisdom and experience. Because I'm hard. Now, it's just some guy. It's just another guy, right? Everybody has more or less experience with knives, and there are people out there who have used knives long enough, in a lot of different circumstances to be able to tell you what certain things are more or less capable of. But the moment they suggest that the essence of the item is sullied by the idea of appreciating it for any other reason, that's the moment that you can wave them off. Skedaddle, Bill. No. Anybody who suggests that you should not be enjoying the item or that you should not purchase the item unless you plan to use it for this or that. Believe it or not, if you've never seen that, believe it or not, it does happen, right? If it seems like I'm describing a circumstance or a situation that is so rare that it couldn't possibly, it's so crazy, that couldn't possibly happen, consider every day on this channel, 25,000 people. That's based on my analytics. This channel gets 25,000 views a day. Not on the newest video that I upload, of everything that I have uploaded that's sitting there, gathering views. 25,000. So as you could imagine, there are a lot of comments. I see everything. Like how a window washer in a city sees traffic all around him. I see everything, right? So I see these weird conversations. So yeah, there are, believe it or not, there are people out there actually, somebody who has, this is the most common circumstance that I see. I just bought the most expensive knife that I've ever purchased. And I was so excited to buy it because I really wanted a knife that I could use for the rest of my life, right? I decided to buy a Hinderer. I've never spent more than maybe $50 on a knife, but I watched Metal Complex and I thought, he talks so highly about it. I just had to pick one up, and then I got it and I loved it, but it's so beautiful. I mean, I'm realizing now what knife enthusiasts appreciate, about certain levels of craftsmanship or production quality, right? I love the finish. I love the sound of the lockup, the feel of everything. The edge is so well done and it's so beautiful. It's so pristine and unused. I just want to appreciate it in this form. What happens there, that's generally the first comment. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, congratulations, man. Enjoy it in its pristine form for however long you want, even if it's forever. But you always, there's like a 50% chance that Bill's coming in to go, you're never truly going to understand or appreciate it unless you use it. You shouldn't have bought it if you didn't plan to use it. You're insulting the maker. You're insulting the design by not using it. That's the kind of comment that I jump in and go, dude, get out of here. Don't tell people what they should or shouldn't do with the thing that they bought. All that is somebody's individual perspective, salty perspective, by the way. Because a lot of times it's somebody who doesn't actually own one for themselves. You find out through conversation that person, right, has never, been able to afford said object, which is fine. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different walks in life, have different careers, different levels of income, right? That person feels personally insulted because they can't afford it or have never experienced it. Somebody else can afford it and then they don't use it. So Bill, in this case, feels personally attacked. And because he feels personally attacked, he feels obligated to inform this person that if he's not going to use it, they don't really care about the essence of the design or the maker. No, it's their own ego. They're just frustrated. That's oftentimes what I see, right? That's why you can't take people like that seriously. We also can't stop them. They're always going to be there. The idea behind this video is not to, make an actual attempt to stamp that out. No, they're always going to be there. The idea here is to help new people identify when you're interacting with a person like that. Because initially it sounds like they're speaking from experience and that they're telling you this to benefit you, right? But really, the sole goal or the intent, the purpose here, whether they say it out loud or not, but whether they even realize it or not, is just to complain and make themselves feel, I don't know, to bolster themselves. It's, I want this and I can't have it. Or my opinion of this is less than what everybody else thinks of it. And I really need everybody to know how I feel so that everybody knows that I have more experience or are more intelligent or am more intelligent or am more tough, right? It's peacocking. That's what people do. Don't listen to people like that. Don't take advice from people like that. If you want something and you can afford it, buy it. If you want to buy a Hinderer, right? I keep picking up the ZT because it's the Hinderer, If you want to buy a Hinderer or something, right? It doesn't have to be a Hinderer. Anything. You want to buy a SOCOM Elite, right? This thing is obviously capable of some pretty serious use, right? How much more is it capable, right? How much more capable is it than a $40 Civivi? I don't know, right? Dollar for dollar, is it measurable over the 40? That's not really what this video is about, right? I know I'm going to stir up a lot of arguments with this. This knife is obviously capable of a lot. It's built well, using premium materials, right? Materials that are purpose-driven, or, with, the intention behind the creation of the said materials is purpose, right? Geometry is purposeful, more or less, depending on what you're going to use it for, right? You want to buy this. You want to buy this because the idea of what it's capable of is appealing, right? You buy it. What you do or don't do with it beyond that point is 100% up to you. There is no specific foundation for what you should or shouldn't do with a knife. Whether these bills want to admit it or accept it or not, the enthusiast portion of the knife community is largely what's causing the massive explosion in the knife industry. I'm not saying it's solely responsible, but the three groups that I've always talked about, the users, the collectors, and the enthusiasts, right? It's the combination of these three populations that's, and the continuously generated interest that's causing the boom and the demand, right? If you don't know, the knife world is substantially bigger now than it was 10 years ago. And there were already enthusiast, collector, and user elements, right? That's been around forever, but there's just been this massive explosion. The reason that we have some of these models that are dripping and oozing with the implication of extreme use, right? The reason that some of those models even exist is because people, who appreciate knives with a foundation of knife enthusiasts have pushed the demand up for them. A lot of models wouldn't even exist. A lot of models that people love using wouldn't exist, and if it weren't for, the knife enthusiast population. Right? I'm making it sound like these are individual clubs, and they're not. Most people are hybridizations. This whole video is just my perspective and opinion. Most people are, a combination of user, collector, enthusiast, right? Maybe you're all three. Maybe you're just two. Maybe you're just one, right? It's the combination of all of those populations that is the driving force behind the knife industry, right? And for the most part, like I said, or hopefully said earlier on in the video, we're all here to enjoy the same stuff, right? That's what newer people have to understand, or that what I want them to understand is that we're all here to enjoy the same thing. There is no supreme group. As much as people will imply, there is no supreme foundational idea behind what you can and can't do with a knife, what you should and should not enjoy a knife for. There are factually certain things that you could do with a knife that would cause it to break, right? Because we live in a finite universe. Yes, Cold Steel fans, even your beloved Triad Lock is bound by the rules of the finite universe. There is a certain amount of force that can be applied that will cause it to fail. Is it more than the average lock? Yeah, but that's whatever, right? This is where there are certain things you can do with a knife that's going to cause it, excess damage or, critical damage to the point where you can't use it, right? Use your best judgment. Don't, for the most part, you shouldn't pry with a folding knife. You probably shouldn't baton. I use my knife for batoning all the time. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, again, a lot of times you have to consider, like, why are you saying this? Are you saying this to benefit people who might actually be considering going out and like where a folding knife might be a beneficial item for whatever it is that they're about to do, right? And it's going to make that circumstance for them more or less convenient. Is that why you're saying it, or are you saying it because you want people to know that you're a Bill who uses their knives in extreme circumstances and, your might and your wisdom should not be questioned, right? That's what I'm saying, is that sometimes people, I think, should check themselves before they say stuff like that. Question, is this more about my ego, or is it more about helping the person who's asking the question? And is someone even asking a question? If someone asks a question, then maybe, right? Or if there's a thought process that, could be corrected with something simple that is beneficial for that person, then yeah, feel free to help out. But if you're just bringing your flaming tire pile of an ego into the mix, then don't do that, because it's not helpful for new people. It's going to turn people away. Knives are cool. Knives are interesting, right? So it doesn't need to be more complicated sometimes than, wow, this is shiny. I like this. I like knife because knife's shiny. Does it need to be like, do people have to develop a certain level of complicated taste to be able to enjoy something? Do people need to go out and baton with a knife to understand and appreciate the essence of it, right? Do people need to, infiltrate a submarine, come in like Liam Neeson to be able to understand, the depth of what the object is capable of? No. I mean, it's, people just have different ideas of that stuff, right? Strength and capability is not the end-all, be-all. Luxury is not the end-all be-all. Certain brands and their collector elements, not the end-all be-all. There is no one person that can tell you definitively why you should or should not buy something and what you should or should not use it for. There are just, consequences to physically using an item a certain way, right? Like, if you take a slip joint, factually, if you take a slip joint, you jam it into something, and you pry around with it, and you move forward, in this case, how I'm holding it, it's factually going to come down on your finger because there's no lock, right? There's just factual cause and effect with certain things. You apply too much force to something that does not have the structural integrity to withstand that force at that angle, then it's going to fail. That's it. It's just the laws of the universe, right? But outside of that, right, should you use a knife with this geometry to break down cardboard boxes? Well, it's not the right geometry for that. You really should be using something that's fully flat ground, no more than 110 thousandths on the spine. Ideally, you wouldn't have something more than a 3.125-inch blade. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. No, ignore that person. If you want to break down boxes with a SOCOM Elite, right? You spent $285 on a SOCOM Elite that's capable of a billion other things, but all you want to do is break down cardboard boxes with it, then do it. You can do that because you bought it, because it's yours. It's not anybody else's, it's yours. You bought a $2,000 knife. You don't want to do anything with it but leave it in a display case. Do it because you bought it. Bill didn't buy it. You bought it. So do whatever you want with it. It seems silly to suggest that people don't know this, right? Here at the 26-minute mark. Come on, Complex. We know this, right? Again, most of you probably do. But I see a lot of comments that implied some people are confused about what they are supposed to do with the objects that they own. I want to be helpful. I want people to know, like, the vast majority of this community is welcoming. Don't let the bills of the knife community dictate what you do or how you think, right? Obviously, most of the knives out here on the table are mine. I obviously have way more than I need, right? Day to day, this one knife is overkill for me. And let's give a better... what's a good example of something that's massively overkill for me? This is massively overkill. I probably don't need more than this day to day. Honestly, I don't need more than a simple Victorinox knife, right? That gonna stop me from buying what I want and using it for what I want to use it for? Absolutely not. No, and I'm gonna keep acquiring this stuff because it brings me joy. If you can afford it, if you can budget for it correctly, right? Pick it up for the reason that you want to pick it up. Enjoy it for the reason you want to enjoy it. There's always going to be people out there like me who are going to say, this element might be more or less beneficial for this person. Spending this much money on this object might be overpaying a little bit. I would advise maybe, checking out its competitor here or there. There's going to be reviewers out there that will explain from their perspective what's a good deal, what's not, what's going to be more or less beneficial for the vast majority of people. But it's why I always say at some point in my review, take the elements of what I'm saying that apply to you and ignore the rest. Take the elements that are important to you and use those elements, when you're making a purchase decision. Ignore the things that don't make sense to you because my word is not law, and that's the same with everybody. No one's word is law. Based on your own experience, right? Whatever it is that you value, take the words, take the words that you're hearing from other people and apply them appropriately, the ones that make sense for you, and ignore the BS, right? Ultimately, if it brings you joy for whatever reason, using it, collecting it, combing over it with a magnifying glass to appreciate all those fine details, whatever it is that brings you joy, let it continue to bring you joy. Absolutely. 30 minutes. Wow, this was super ranty. Almost ironically a little bit preachy, right? Ignore the bills. Enjoy knives for what you want to enjoy them for. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all of my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody.